Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Film Snobbery Live. I am your host, Nic Baisley, and this is going to be a very interesting show because I have no one here in the studio with me to help run the show. It's just me breaking down the fourth wall for you people right now, letting you know how it goes. I want to welcome everyone to the show. Things are actually going already off to a great start. We've got questions already rolling in from the chat room. I want to encourage everyone that's watching. You can either answer or ask rather questions in our chat room right now, or you can also ask us questions on Twitter or Facebook. We actually have a fantastic show for you. If you guys haven't heard of WyrdCon, WYRDCON. We actually have a fantastic representative from it here tonight. His name is Ira Ham, and we're going to be speaking to him about WyrdCon and kind of what it's all about. And this is kind of continuing on a little bit from our conversation that we had last week with Carrie Cudforth-Young about storytelling. Because I feel that, again, storytelling is, especially as a film critic, I see all of your work. I feel that, especially in indie film, storytelling is really what sets apart your films from Hollywood blockbusters. Not to say that the Hollywood, stuff, there aren't some great movies out there, great storytelling, but every time I talk to people at a film screening or at a screening series that we put on or something like that, I always tend to ask them, why indie film? And they always say it's because of the stories. The stories are what make everything, kind of cohesive and come together. And WyrdCon is all about storytelling, and storytelling in many different facets. Carrie last week talked a lot about transmedia. WyrdCon takes it to a little bit of a different level as well, because they are also involved in gaming, LARP, ARG, regular traditional storytelling, authors, screenwriters, the whole oeuvre of storytelling. So we're going to talk to the chairman of WyrdCon. His name is Ira Ham. He's the guy with the picture right over there-ish. And we're gonna talk to him a little bit about WyrdCon. It's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you definitely want to, if you haven't gotten your passes for it, definitely check it out, especially if you're out here on the West Coast rather. And if you're on the East Coast, you should fly on out. Good opportunity to see Ira, see WyrdCon, see me maybe. I don't know. Aren't I good enough for you? I'm really excited to have a show. I also want to make a couple quick announcements off the top. We have definitely set a date for our little excursion. We're doing a live show at the Hive Gallery the last Tuesday of the month. I think it's the 20th or the 22nd, or I don't know. I'm really bad. It is the 27th, I believe. I'll confirm that again for you guys, but I believe it's the 27th. We are doing a live show from the Hive Gallery downtown in Los Angeles. There are going to be some great filmmakers that we're going to be interviewing there, as well as it is the launch party, or relaunch party actually, for our website. So that is going to be something we're really excited about. We're glad and happy and hoping that everyone will come out for that. The seating, though, is limited. We sent out a press release about it earlier today. You can check it out on our Twitter feed or our Facebook feed over at twitter.com/filmsnobbery or facebook.com/filmsnobbery. We're really excited about the redesign. I've personally been working on it for the past 4 months, and right now I'm actually scrambling to try to make sure that we actually have it completed in time for the event. So I'm really excited about it. We hope everyone checks out, if you can't make it to the event, definitely check out the website. We're going to be doing a lot to highlight our contributors, highlight a lot of the videos that we have. I mean, we have over 300 videos that we've done over the past 5 and some change years about everything from directing, storytelling, producing, acting, voiceover, everything you could possibly want to learn about independent film. You could probably find somewhere in our archive of videos, and we're going to make that archive easier for you guys to search through, both on our website, and also we've moved all of our content actually to one convenient space over at youtube.com/filmsnobbery. So I want to go ahead and it's weird, I'm doing this all myself, so I have to actually, and it's weird because I used to do this all myself back when we were in Massachusetts too. I feel like this is like an old school Film Snobbery Live, but I'm a little rusty right now. So so I'm going to go ahead right now. Let's see here. Okay, WyrdCon. So if you guys want to purchase tickets to WyrdCon, or you want to check out a little bit more what they're about, you can go to WyrdCon.com. See, boom, lower third. And you can definitely check out WyrdCon on Facebook, because I'm sure they're going to be posting more information there as well. Facebook.com/WyrdCon. And remember, that's spelled WYRDCON. And they are also on Twitter as well. They're at WyrdCon. So that said, I think we've got everyone is buzzing now. They're probably saying to themselves, what the hell is WyrdCon? We actually have a video that explains that. So from our good friends over at WyrdCon, we've got a great video we're going to show you here. When we come back, we're going to have our interview with Ira Ham, pending that I can get everything done within the time span of this video and get it all set so I can get over on the couch and do this interview. Again, I encourage questions, of course, through Twitter, Facebook, or right here in our chat room. When we return, we have our guest, Ira Ham. We're going to talk a little bit about what WyrdCon is, and it's one of those things where we say, well, don't take our word for it. Here's a video. Be right back.
What is WyrdCon in 4-ish minutes? Okay, wait, you're saying weird what?
WyrdCon. 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 WyrdCon.
WyrdCon is an interactive storytelling convention.
Take a big, bowlful imagination. We'll say 5 parts of tabletop gaming, maybe 3 parts of transmedia, another 4 parts of alternative reality. Sprinkle maybe a good couple handshakes of costume design, a few more shakes of prop design, some combat techniques, some people plotting in a corner with their hands like this, going wah and such. And you stir it all together. You take it to a hotel, you just throw it in the lobby, and it spreads the whole area. And suddenly there's WyrdCon.
Let's back up. Okay, so you have foam-swinging LARPers, ARG and transmedia people hanging out together in a hotel for 1 weekend. Wait. What's it? What the heck is transmedia?
Media?
That's Soundwave's last name before he got married to Starscream. I'm sorry!
Transmedia is a way to create a story in such a way that people can experience it in a variety of different ways.
Yay! ARG? What's that?
I'm not sure.
The Aardvark regulation game. I don't know. Isn't that the insurance company that went under? I'm sorry!
That's like a LARP. You can't really tell if you're actually gaming or if it's the real world or not. It's so close to the real thing. I'm not sure.
Bingo!
And LARP?
It's a great way to escape the modern world.
Live action role play.
That's where you sit around and you hit each other with foam and pretend that it hurts. Hang with me here for a second.
A theater experience unlike anything else. Different than actual theater or film because those are scripted, whereas LARP, you are your character. Everything you do is real and everything you feel is real. It's so immersive, it's unlike anything else in the world.
So, why would LARP, ARG, and transmedia people hang out together? LARPers most people are afraid of. ARG depends a lot on electronic devices and little widgets. Transmedia, everyone is still trying to figure out what that means, but Hollywood uses it a lot in marketing. For starters, LARPers play in parks where most people typically point and stare and are too afraid to jump in the action. But WyrdCon is a place where the LARP curious can try a buffet of LARPs and feel comfortable, because let's face it, until they build a holodeck, LARP is the best thing we've got for actually getting to live as a character, not just read or watch what they do. Secondly, transmedia and ARG get to share their stories and new platform ideas with a super open and friendly community. At WyrdCon, you have a place to play freely, bounce ideas around, try out new concepts, and get instant feedback. The ARG community might find another idea to augment this reality by exploring other story worlds. LARP may find another element normally used in ARG or transmedia to make their interactive world more immersive. WyrdCon is about storytelling. If you have ever had a desire to build complex story world that involves extensions into live participatory gaming environments, solve a mystery, fight the enemy, or experience an event that mixes theater, costuming, and dialogue about the changing face of the entertainment industry, WyrdCon is the place to be. WyrdCon, where people who create and experience stories live happily ever after.
Boom, it's on. So,
Magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ira Ham. And so let's talk a little bit about WyrdCon. We saw a little bit of video about what it is. How did it get started?
WyrdCon got started simply because I was looking for a way to bring together all of these elements that I see in the media, transmedia, live action, different concepts. All of these different groups are trying to tell stories. However, well, raise your hand if you've seen a bad movie in the past year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. And everyone's trying to figure out how to do that. So I realized, why not put something together that allows the collaboration between the media styles to tell stories. Not only that, I started to notice that there are new styles coming out that are often ignored. Everything from a traditional movie really needs to improve their story, going down to, say, alternate or augmented reality, you could say live action, traditional storytelling. They all exist in little pockets. No one really brings them together. And I see the future being delivering something that tells a story all the way from the top of, say, Spider-Man or Avatar, and bringing it down and making it more interactive, more personal, and then turning it even to a live sense. Because doesn't something have more meaning to you if it's face-to-face?
Sure.
If you actually have control and influence it? Defiance is doing that now.
It's the whole reason why we do this show. It's you know, it's the, you know, we used to have a guest that would call in, but I think it makes more of an impact if we have a guest here in person with us, and we're able to kind of have a more face-to-face, personal communication. Plus, we get to talk all about you people, the audience there. We can talk about you off camera together.
Okay.
We do. We make fun of you, and we say bad, nasty things to you all the time. I do. This guy doesn't say anything.
I'll be the good angel this time.
Yeah, definitely.
I promise.
Not me.
No.
But all right, so WyrdCon is in its 4th year now. Are you seeing the what are you seeing as the predominant method of storytelling there? Because you have something like, let's say, a South by Southwest, and South by has film and interactive and music, and I've seen over the past few years especially that interactive is really, I mean, it's basically gone from a music festival, which then was music and film, now music, film, and interactive, but now interactive seems to have taken over a great part of it. Do you see that with, anything in terms of, like, say, just transmedia or augmented reality or LARPing or anything like that? Any of those motifs of storytelling kind of dominating one thing or another? Or do you guys try to keep it all on an even plane? Or?
Well, we actually don't discriminate. I'm talking about transmedia, ARGs, storytelling, live action, etc., because those are the key elements we're focusing on at the moment. But tomorrow it could expand into a new option that we've never imagined, or someone could come to me and say, hey, I have this great idea for a storytelling indie tabletop experience. Or I want to bring my latest indie showing about this journey that a person has to talk about dust. And those things exist within WyrdCon because they're focused on expanding the elements of storytelling. So the difference between sort of something interactive and what we're focusing on is interactive is just that, interaction. All you're doing is what you could work on a computer, and that's interactive. You can play a video game, and that's interactive. But what about something that really gets you involved? A real-world example is something, there was a website once called I Love Bees. And it actually was just a regular website you could go to. It's like one of those homegrown things back in the old days, basic website. However, if you stared at it long enough, the website started falling apart. Just in front of you, and you start clicking on little things like blinking lights and things that took you in, and it took you into something that required a password. And if you start solving the puzzles and getting into the deeper code, looking behind the scenes, you'd find a way in. It turned out to be the Halo mainframe. And you struggle deeper solving puzzles and working on things that they presented to you online. It builds camaraderie. There's things trying to solve ARGs constantly online. Get into the puzzles and the story of it. Build sort of this interactive world, but you're also learning more about what's happening behind the scenes. The dossiers, the diary reports, the storyline elements of Master Chief. And then let's say you really figure it out. You really get the puzzles. And all of a sudden you end up learning that, hey, there's this thing in Los Angeles. If I walk into, say, a bakery and I said the secret word, they're going to give me a cake. Inside that cake was a cell phone. The cell phone rang as soon as you grabbed it. It told you to be at a warehouse at midnight, 3 blocks away. You walked into that warehouse. You're handed a AK-47 rifle, and you're told, you have to go save the soldiers on the other side. Good luck. And you're invested in it because it was your platoon you're saving, because you've been following the dossiers online. Because all of these people across the world are following your efforts, and you've made it personal. down to that level. Not only has Hollywood or the video game industry in this example managed to build that environment, they've managed to take a story that has involved hundreds of thousands of people in the world, and now those hundreds of thousands of people are watching you. It's if you've ever read the book Ready Player One, the very ending of that, where they get really involved in just following a small subset of players. Why are they doing that? Because they know their stories. They're now emotionally involved in what's happening to them. And that's beyond just telling the story of what the media or the movie is. It's now the story of the people involved. And, well, reality TV has sold itself.
Yes. Yeah. Now, we actually do have, because we're talking about storytelling, and we're talking about immersive storytelling, and one of our audience members wants to know something personal about you in storytelling, which is John Hoff, 3.
Hi, John.
Says, what is the best way for someone to find his or her emotional nexus with regard to storytelling?
Maybe the best way to tell that is with a story. So, the idea of how I got involved in all of this, many, many moons ago, there was a good friend of mine. I was actually very opposed to the idea of getting involved in anything in live-action role-playing or kind of D&D or even anything outside of reading a book. I was very much a book person. I figure I'm going to read the story there and that's all I'm going to experience it. Well, a friend of mine convinced me to try it more personally and said, go on this live-action event with me. You'll like it. And so I'm like, this is silly. I'm going to wear a funny costume, and I'm going to be jumping around on some little pieces of carpeting in the Anaheim Convention Center. Oh, look, there's a piece of plastic over there. That's supposed to be a swamp. This is silly. So I'm kind of laughing. I'm mocking it verbally. I'm literally out loud with the participants, just mocking this thing blatantly. Not cool. And I turn a corner, and all of a sudden there's this 8-foot-tall spider with giant arms, and it just screams at me. And I literally screamed like a little girl. And ran, hopping on the little steps all the way back, slammed the door, my heart was pounding, and I'm like, God, what the hell? That thing wasn't real. Maybe there's something to this. So it's the emotional connection to stories. So where's my emotional nexus? It's when I am...
Apparently fear.
Fear is a very easy way to get someone involved. That's one of the reasons why horror movies grab you, right? Because you actually become afraid of something and you want to see the resolution so you can sleep at night. So for me, the first time, admittedly, it was fear, but it started to become the camaraderie or the connection with the people involved. So now for me, I realize that I have created, and I tell stories about a character whose absolute purpose in life is to never die. Now you think about it, because he never wants to die. He wants to live forever. He's afraid of dying. But that's not the case. As it's passed and it's evolved, the characters and the stories that I have told have evolved, it's actually changed to be, my character doesn't care if he dies. He has lived for decades. Instead, he cares if those he loves dies. And if you actually ask me personally about myself, what is my purpose? My purpose is to grow those I love. And even in my character, that emotional nexus that you're talking about, the purpose is to ensure that I stay around to grow things that I love. My friends, my family, WyrdCon.
WyrdCon.
And that's what the nexus is for me.
So with WyrdCon this year, what is the biggest thing, whether it's an event, a panel, a person, what is the biggest thing that you're looking forward to? Just either seeing or being a part of at the convention?
Well, I think we have an amazing lineup across the board. I mean, I could probably spend the next hour just hitting on every single panelist and concept there. But this is FilmSnobbery, right? So
you guys want
to hear about media, you want to hear about film, probably big names, things like that. So obviously, if you look at the website, you learn about Jim Butcher. He's actually going to be there talking about how to actually take storytelling into media properties. So he wrote, the Dresden Files.
Oh, yeah.
Codex Alara, several books, movies, TVs, things about that. We have several of the people who have developed and are helping to expand the stories of a popular sci-fi series called Defiance. And they are actually coming from both sides of the house. They're coming from the actual television series, and they're coming from the actual online game. And one of the interesting things that WyrdCon focuses on is trying to transcend a traditional property. If you're making an indie film, wouldn't it be great if that film lasted more than just the DVD disc and the sales of that?
I think a lot of filmmakers are trying to do that, and I think that they are failing. And I don't know if it's due to resources or the lack of imagination, or maybe they're too close to the project and they can't see beyond the scope of what's on the page or what's on the screen. Something like Defiance has a budget to be able to create something and fail and then fix. I think that's another thing too, is filmmakers don't have the budget or the resources to fail a first time and to retool. And believe me, even as someone myself, where I'm lucky that I know how to redo my website, because if I think that there's a part of it that's not working, I can just get rid of it and then try something else. It doesn't cost me any additional money or anything. But filmmakers, I think, and some storytellers, unless you're exclusively a writer where that doesn't work on the page, scrap it and then write something else. I find that maybe there's the time and money is really a factor in how far they can take what they're doing. And of course you have things like Kickstarter that enable you to kind of go direct to fan. But I don't know. Where do you feel is
There's a few options and concepts. The first thing you probably have to decide for a film property, and transmedia, Jeff Gomez speaks on this a lot. There's different types of ways you want to manage your story. You can have an open or closed property. You may have heard the terms. A closed property example would be something like, Harry Potter. No one, under any circumstances, is going to expand the world of Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling controls that property with an iron fist. On the flip side, you have a property such as Star Wars. Many books have been written by different authors about it. Now even a different organization is taking the reins ad nauseum to kind of lead the way. So with that in mind, you can do the same with your own property, and there's different directions. If you choose for a closed property, that means you're kind of leading things all the way across the board, and the level of audience involvement that you're going to give over in a more interactive storytelling way is less. But there are definitely options. With an open, which I'll use as the more detailed example, you have a bit more freedom. Let's say you're creating a wonderful story, let me look around this place, about, beanies. So let's talk about beanies. So we have a wonderful man, he's incredibly handsome, and he turns out to have a magic beanie. And through the power of this magic beanie...
Someone's been reading my dream journal.
And through the power of this beanie, he can read your thoughts. That's right, folks. Nick is hearing everything you say, do, and think right now. However, there's some problems with this magic beanie. As we know, turns out it has some other powers. But the first movie and the first film is just about the fact that he's struggling with the entire world's thoughts in his head at the same time. So it becomes a very deep, emotional episode about going through to manage the world's trauma.
It's like the internet. It's all porn.
Exactly. So, or is that just inside your head?
That's a good question. I could be getting those confused.
It's philosophical. We'll let the audience decide that.
Yeah.
So what if you decided to take that and say, the magic beanie actually is lost in the world somewhere, and you could actually do an entire online experience where people are trying to figure out what has happened to the beanie. Puzzles, journeys, codes, trying to tell the story of where you've been. As a matter of fact, it could have been stolen, and someone is leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. Why is he doing that? Well, probably because he's just some sort of crazy person who wants to be caught and he wants to tell a story. But that doesn't matter because you as the audience want to figure out what's going on with it. So you start diving in and learning about his magic beanie. And that's taken it from the first movie or the first thing that you created as your indie film. And people are now invested in that. As a matter, and then they go a bit deeper and it turns out that at the end of the solution to the puzzle, the question lies, they get to put on the magic beanie. And so they're sitting online, maybe in a chat room, maybe they're invited into a set like this and they put it on, and they film one key thing. The beanie says within their mind, what else can I do? And at that exact moment, the person has complete control of your story. What is your next film going to be about? Are you willing to give that level of control to the person? Probably not. But it would make a really good short synopsis to pull into the next property, the next journey of that. Well,
I'm sure that even with Star Wars, the expanded universe books and stuff like that, I mean, I'm sure that, before things are approached with Lucasfilm, or at this point now Disney, it's I'm sure that they had to get a blessing of some sort, and they're probably operating within some constraints. And
Exactly.
not spoiler alert, when they killed off Chewbacca back in the day, and probably a couple other characters, I'm sure that someone really had to go okay, we are killing off one of your 6 main characters. Are you cool with this?
Or maybe the person during the video actually pulls the beanie out and shoots it. That changes things. As a matter of fact, WyrdCon is doing this right now, as an example.
What are you doing?
If you search on the internet or look on the WyrdCon website, you will find a mention of an alternate reality game. And you can dive in and you'll learn about a wonderful nurse. Her name is Ginny. And she is currently being courted by someone named RU out in the Twitter space. And he has fallen madly in love with Ginny. And he's leaving clues, and he's trying to build an audience to help him woo this beautiful woman. Exactly what happens to her through this journey, and the result of it is carried all the way down to a live event at WyrdCon. Now, everybody has control about what her fate is, and if you're going to help RU or try to warn Ginny. It's all up to you, the audience, and you have a say in the end result. And I won't get into the details, but it actually culminates in a completely interactive event on site that we've been spending months constructing.
Now, question, what is the difference between, because I know you corrected yourself, but what is the difference between augmented reality and alternate reality?
It's one of those philosophical things, and I get corrected by some of my team on it, but actually Susan specifically has done this. But the way you could say it is augmented is more technology focused. Let's say I'm using my iPhone and I put it up and it changes the viewpoint or the perspective I see. Google Glass is another definition of it. That's augmented reality. Something is actually augmenting your reality.
Gotcha.
Whereas alternate reality is you're participating in something, but it's sort of in a pseudo-separate universe. We may be pretending that something's going on between Ginny and RU, but in reality, it's not really happening, let's be honest.
You just totally broke it.
Yeah, I totally broke it.
Took me out. No.
Yeah, sorry, folks, but at the same time, it's the challenge of getting into that story.
Right.
I mean, we all know the Halo universe isn't real, but then again, why were thousands of people involved with I Love Bees?
Right.
Yeah.
I think also you look at MMOs, or maybe a game like Fable or something like that is a really good example of you invest yourself into this character, you put yourself almost into the character and how they react to the world around them and how the world perceives them, which I think is also really interesting. I've always been interested in games like that. Fun stuff. So why did you feel that this needed a convention versus tape base of its own versus going to, were you just tired of going to things like VidCon and South by and all these other things all over the country, some of them all over the world? Was it just you were just tired of going to all these different places and you're just like, I just want to go to one place that's near my house?
None of them do it.
None of them do it.
Is it possible for you to actually say, walk into VidCon and watch a person talking about Defiance and explain what they're doing with the world, not only to tell the story, but also send it to other properties? We want to bring this into an online video game, and this is how we did it. This is how we told you, audience, how we're going to take it to the next level. And I'm going to sit here in the seat and explain it. As a matter of fact, not only am I going to do that, I'm going to give you the tools to do it. Here we have David Peterson. He developed the language that you see in Defiance. David's going to show you how to create a foreign language from scratch. We're going to go through and give you the tools, the individual experiences of that. I'm going to show you how to actually turn it into a live event and actually build from there. We have a gentleman from Blizzard Entertainment who's actually going to go over how they've actually gone step by step through well, I can't actually say what they're doing yet.
They're doing things.
But they're gonna talk about how some of their properties have actually graduated through these different tiers and walls, and why they come and see this storytelling so important, not only just for their properties such as World of Warcraft, but what they're using to actually transcend that. I mean, we even have it with League of Legends, where you play the game, but now people want to know, well, what happened to these characters? It didn't start out that way. They're building the story now, and it's starting to go even further behind the scenes. And people want to know that behind the scenes stuff. And that draws them in, and that is an opportunity. It's not that hard to build. You don't have to be an excellent screenwriter to do it. You just have to be willing to let the characters evolve. And you know what? One of the secrets I've found doing and practicing this myself is when I'm really stuck, if I give some of this to the audience will write it for me.
Yeah, not for any monetary gain to the audience, of course. No. It's all over here.
Yeah. Very much so.
So where does, in creating and expanding these universes for different properties, where does fan fiction come into play?
Actually, I think fan fiction is one of the best benefits of this. Live action right now is probably heavily fan fiction on its own, except it's an interactive form of it. For example, if you're doing... actually, we've got them at WyrdCon. Star Wars has a lot of fan fiction. As a matter of fact, at WyrdCon, you can participate in a live event that involves the fan fiction of the world of Star Wars. You can actually walk into the cantina and spend time at the bar. And whatever happens around you is going to change the world. You are in someone's fanfic. George Lucas did not come down and say, we're going to do this. Same thing. We have 2 Dresden Files events. Why? Well, Jim Butcher's there, so we kind of attracted 1 or 2 excellent people at it.
Sure.
But with that in mind, these are fanfics. And they're effectively telling different aspects. Are these official? Are they blessed? No. But they're just like the rest. And in these ways, you give people the freedom to participate in your world. And with that, you can build ideas around it, and you create a following from it. And those fanfics generate a following that make people want to know, what's the official thing? Mm-hmm. What's the real extension of this story? Did Darth Vader live all the way to the end? Or did Han end up shooting first in the end? I mean, who knows? I mean, those sorts of things are heavily into fanfic. Some of them have been corrected by the official word. And you get to play
Han
all
shot
within that.
First.
Absolutely.
That's right. So, did you, in putting this together, you obviously have a team of people to help you out, and how big has this gotten now for you from when it started to where it is now? I mean, how long does it take to put together? I mean, is this basically now full-time, event for you in terms of like, okay, this one just ended, so now we got to start prepping for the next one?
Actually, right now I'm prepping for Weird 5. Coming this weekend is the first day I sit down and actually start developing all the properties. We've pretty much settled on a date for it. I can't give it just yet, but it's less than a year. We're moving back into an first half of the year instead of the second half of the year for our calendar, and we are... I can't give away too much yet, but we're starting before Weird 4 to prep for Weird 5. Wow. And the team works constantly around the clock. I mean, shout out to everyone. I don't want to name names because I know I'm going to forget someone, but the team is just nonstop working on this. And even myself, we work on it constantly all year.
Yeah, how has the response from the various industries been? I mean, have they started? A first-year event, it's always hard to get support from more established places. But now you're in 4th year, going into year 5, soon. Has it been easier now to get the attention of people to either bring on as guests or sponsors or any of those other kind of key components that you need to kind of put on an event like this?
It's interesting because no one really knows exactly how to place WyrdCon. If I work at Disney, for example, and I need to sell, hey, I want to go to this storytelling convention. Well, what's that? I mean, transmedia, it's more well-known, but how does storytelling fit within that environment and actually create the next steps? It's very difficult to fall within that niche because it's sort of transcending some things and it's falling into the niche of others. So the media and the business world is just starting to go, people are going to that. You're starting to get some noteworthy people there. People are coming out of this and actually starting to apply the principles.
So you find it's more word of mouth that helps out more than anything?
I would say that we're doing 2 things. Not only are we sort of creating something from the ground up, but we're also raising awareness of a missing piece to the puzzle. And I truly believe that the first property that solves the concept of taking a media property all the way down to a live event and sustaining it will probably create the biggest property for the next several decades because it won't die. I mean, if Avatar finds a solution to actually make it so you can do live events continuously throughout the year, and there's online games, or a TV series like Defiance runs their game and they have live action, Defiance will be on forever. What if you have 20, 30,000 people who are playing Defiance, continuously watching the Defiance TV series simply because, well, they want to find out what they did in the game changed the online series? That may be a ratings point just on its own. And what if that grew to be the size of World of Warcraft? What if World of Warcraft became a TV series too? Holy shit.
I would like that, yeah.
I mean, people in the audience want it right now.
They are prepping for the movie.
Exactly. I mean, what if you journey that all the way down? I mean, then you could say, you know what? I was actually sitting yesterday at Thrall's dinner table online, and then in a live event that, like the worldwide invitational, I ended up being killed by Thrall. Then it turns out in the TV series, you're starring and you've just been killed by Thrall. And it was like, that was me. Everyone wants to know about that. Or you become the person that solved the puzzle and dropped down the gates to the new world there.
It seems like they kind of started to do that a little bit with City of Heroes a while ago, where they created the comic book that went alongside it, but they would pick characters from the game and inject them into the comic book. So, if you guys aren't familiar, I love MMOs. I used to play. I've played so many of them, and so many of them have let me down. I think it's because they just lose focus. I mean, I still am a huge fan of the original Star Wars Galaxies from back in the day. Before they nerfed it and changed the gameplay completely. And it was just such a. It was such an interesting world to live in, because it was literally just a cluster of worlds, and there was tons of people there, and it was kind of like no rules, but you can have a house and put things in it, and it was like, but at the same time, like, you're a bounty hunter and you got your ship and you fly to another thing and you're completing, for me, that game became less about completing missions and more about interacting with the people around me.
And with that in mind, I think that formula, once someone masters that formula, it's going to create a whole new world of entertainment. People are playing with pieces of it. You can go to different conferences and see a piece of it. WyrdCon is the only place I know of that's doing all of it together.
Nice.
And that's what makes us unique. You can actually sit down with people who are thinking about this right now, wanting to actually just bring you to the table and have that dialogue. You want to sit down with Jeff Gomez, from one of the biggest names in the transmedia world,
Starlight
and actually
Runner,
say, and actually ask him, Jeff, I'm thinking about this. What do you say? He'll actually talk to you about it. As a matter of fact, WyrdCon has one unique thing I've never seen in another event. We do something called the one-on-ones. The beginning, during our opening party, we actually draw names out of a hat, and you can actually sit down for 15, 20 minutes with one of our VIPs, close doors, and talk about anything you want with this person. So with Jeff, Jim Butcher, we invite them to just have this dialogue opportunity. So you, from the audience, could actually have a meaningful conversation to do anything. Sell your idea, try to get grief counseling, talk about a whole new world you want, whatever thinking. Get advice on a book deal. I mean, these people are willing to actually give their time, and it's something we do for free. There's no cost ever in addition to the ticket for this. Just show up at the opening party and put your name in the hat, and you have a chance to it. And honestly, it's not like one or two. It's usually like 10, 15 people get this shot. And it's pretty significant. And people love that opportunity. If you go to Comic-Con, do you actually get to sit down with the people who are giving the autographs and actually talk to them for a few minutes? No.
No, not really.
At WyrdCon, you get that opportunity.
Unless you get like that one sad guy who's sitting at the table that no one's going to, which I totally always feel bad for. I pass by and I'm like, you see the giant line at Lou Ferrigno, and then like, there's other guys just sitting there just like, yeah, I was in that thing that time.
Yeah. It's like the C celebrities or the D celebrities. Yeah.
Now, I noticed you have a pin or a talisman of some sort. And while you describe what that is, I'm just going to go check on our stream real quick and also
make sure it's actually working.
Yeah, and just maybe also change our lower third a little bit there. But
well, let me see if anyone can actually see this. Can they actually see if I hold this up? Is that visible?
That is visible.
So this is what we call the sigil. So every year, WyrdCon has a badge. You know how you actually have an attendee badge? You've been to Comic-Con, you've been to VidCon. They have something that's a piece of paper. It has your name on it, and it says, you're attending this conference, so security will let you through. Well, that's not really telling a story. We want something that you're going to actually have that tells a story. So every year, WyrdCon's badges are designed to tell a story. This is actually based upon the badge to Wyrd 3. This was the Kickstarter reward last year. This thing right here, it was the Tri-Wyrd Sigil. This is a unique metal type just for that. And what the concept of this is other than actually identifying you as the attendee to the conference. So you get one of these or something like it different every year. The idea was you have a piece of storytelling in your hand. This is actually something, it weighs a noteworthy amount. It's solid, it's not a piece of paper, it's not flimsy, it's real metal. And you can look at this and imagine what stories could be done about the three-headed dragon. And this coming year, there's a unique one as well. If you were in the Kickstarter, we revealed a little bit about what that image is. But each year, we do something to help expand the world of storytelling. And you are wearing a piece of art for the purpose of expanding that ideal. We don't just want a badge. We want you to take away something that helps inspire you to tell stories. And what better way than a piece of art? And that's what these are. And that's what we give to you just for walking in and spending the weekend or 4 days, Thursday through Sunday with us.
And yeah, I have one.
Yes.
You brought one for me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Can we see real quick?
Yeah, take a look.
It's a good size. It's good. So where did the name from WyrdCon come from?
It's the name of a swamp. It's weird, means swampland.
Yeah?
Yeah.
SwampCon?
Yeah, pretty much. No. Please, Internet, don't abuse it too much. Yeah, it's already happened. It's on Reddit.
Okay.
It's on Twitter. It's everywhere. SwampCon. No.
It's tons of people walking around with swamp ass, most likely. So you get no.
So the name for WyrdCon is based upon a story, a live event that I actually did. I wrote a whole series of events for 3 years. I ran it. It was called The Weird of Avilion. And the basic concept, it was based upon the world of King Arthur. Why? Because, quite honestly, I wasn't that great at storytelling at the time, and I stole one from an open season. Arthurian legend is open source, so based upon that. So
I tell everyone, if you're stuck on a story, you look at Arthurian legend, or you look at the classical, like the Greek myths, Romans, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
They're ripe for the pickings, people, and they're great stories.
La Morte to Arthur, there you go.
Totally.
So
Gawain and the Green Knight is one of my more favorites.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I wanted to create the idea of some sort of situation which would band together a group of heroes. One of the things that I find engaging in personal storytelling for me is I like the players or the participants to be heroes. Those are the movies and the worlds that call to me. I know the audience and people have their own individual ideals. So I created a world where the participants start as refugees. Literally everything about them has been decimated. And so they go to the last remaining place in Albion, in England, that's left, which is Avalon. Because, it's the magical place, so of course it wasn't destroyed like everything else.
Of course not.
And so they're refugees, and they literally come to the weird, which means swampland. And they just start building a life for themselves. Turns out that since Avalon is also the last surviving thing, they are between the armies and the last surviving hope for mankind. So what do they start doing? Defending it, because the swamp becomes their home. So the weird means home. And the weird is a swamp where they built their home against all adversity. So WyrdCon is a home against adversity for those who seek to tell stories, like those who started off with nothing and built it into something.
Boom.
And that's the story of Weird.
That's the story of Weird and WyrdCon and the name of WyrdCon.
Exactly. That's all there is to it.
I can see a barred tale kind of coming of that, some sort of a song of legend.
Let me tell you about the story of a con that was weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can see that coming. So, let's move this back over to film for 5 seconds.
Okay.
What can some of the screenwriters that are out there, what should they be looking for when they are creating these stories? Should they always be looking forward to, okay, how can I turn this into a transmedia property or an augmented or alternate reality? Or should, do you think that they get lost too much in the propertization of their story and focusing less on the story? Like instead of make the story good, let's just focus on how can we sell it, because that seems to be more of what I'm seeing lately, is because that's what people are buying. I mean, they're writing for a market, not for the story. You know what I mean? It's weird. I know that's kind of a weird, convoluted question, but yeah, I mean, what do you see, and how can they?
Well, the first thing is there's a book. How many plots are there really for any movie?
3.
Maybe no, there's actually a book about it. I'm sure somebody in the chat world knows.
It's kind of one of those
12 plots, 13 plots. There's a certain amount, and the book has it. one of the things that I think is very
I was thinking
cliche.
of the conflict thing, the
Yeah.
man versus himself, man versus man, man versus side influence or whatever. Yeah.
But there's kind of a mix, and within those plots or those conflicts or however you build it, people get really focused on how am I going to build this? Am I going to make this a romance, or am I going to make this a man versus machine, or versus the world or individual? Don't focus on that. That's actually a trap, because then you're focused on the moment of what you're trying to build. It's like, I want to build a skyscraper. Congratulations, you've just finished a skyscraper. It is going to be a romantic comedy skyscraper. Everyone knows it as just that. Now, what about the grounds and its place in the world and the stores that you're going to put inside it? That's a little bit about the world that's interacting, or the characters that you're doing, or I'll just call them the widgets, the props, the magic items, the points of interest in that item. A little bit more about them. Not that you're putting them just into that world or you're going to tell the story about them. But let's see, what's a good... Usual Suspects did this.
Sure.
So would you be more interested about the coffee cup that fell to the ground at the end of that movie?
Well, I'm only interested in that based on everything I've learned throughout the movie of that character.
But that particular coffee cup, if I wrote one extra sentence in like a little bit of footnotes in the script, that particular thing, that can become an ARG. Because people want to know, where did he get that from? Or maybe there really was something about the devil who never existed from the coffee cup. You could take that somewhere. Allow, allow something to go forward. It doesn't even have to be about your property or your story. You just need a hook in it. But it has to be a hook with meaning. And that's the important thing that I think people miss or forget. They forget that if they want to take it further, it has to have meaning. It has to hit you here. And it has to be in that emotional moment. We remember the coffee cup because it fell to the ground in that pivotal scene. Not anything having to do with the coffee cup as a coffee cup.
Right.
So focus on taking that meaning somewhere.
It was the coffee cup in context of...
Exactly.
It
doesn't have to be about the characters. It doesn't have to be about the world. It could literally be Red Coffee Cup Industries. I mean, literally, Halo, going back to the I Love Bees thing, that has nothing to do with Halo.
No.
But if you actually caught into that, you did find that they were linked, in that it was the scientific research facade. The FBI surveillance van of Halo was actually part of that concept. So let a concept go somewhere, and it can take you further.
Now, do you find that there are examples of brands that try to force that kind of stuff rather than happen? Because it sounds like there has to be some sort of planning, but at the same time, you do kind of want to let things happen organically because people can tell when they're being "quote unquote" sold or led. You know, when it comes to even traditional storytelling, you know, you see very obvious plot points like beats. You know, a beat sheet is very obvious. You know, how does something like, you know, WyrdCon help filmmakers or maybe just writers, storytellers, let's just say storytellers, get out of the tropes that they tend to fall into, you know, with all of these things? I mean, is it just more based on the conversation? Are you guys doing seminars and stuff like that as well, or workshops?
Yeah, actually, that is definitely something at WyrdCon. There's a whole slew of panels that actually discuss and involve you in the creation of some of those. There's actually 2 storytelling panels specifically. I don't have the list in front of me to name them, but it definitely focuses on those concepts. If you actually go to the website and click the register link or the schedule link, you'll see like 100 different events, and you can definitely peruse all of them. But I hate it when I lose my train of thought.
That happened to me too, and that's why my question was
kind of rambled a bit.
Yeah.
But the answer is, I retain the answer,
Okay.
which is simply, if you're not sure where to take it and you want to make it organic, then film the scene and let the actors or the moment define it. For example, Star Trek IV has one of these. So Star Trek IV, in one moment after Scotty gets everybody out, was it? Yeah, I hope it was Star Trek IV, or else the audience is going to correct me.
Of course, because it's Star Trek.
Okay.
Yes.
Kirk is, or some people are trapped in one of the cells inside the Enterprise. It was not Star Trek IV. I don't remember which one. And Star Trek V, I think. Star Trek V. Yes. Excellent. My geek credit is restored. And he blows the cell up. They escape, and then they split directions. And Scotty's like, not to worry, I know this ship like the back of my hand. Sky literally mutters, I know the ship like the back of my hand. And he hits a beam right there and falls unconscious. Now, as far as I know, that was not planned, and he legitimately hit the beam, and he legitimately got knocked out. So that moment is awesome. Now, what happened to him after that moment? Because you don't see him until he wakes up and regains consciousness elsewhere. Tell that story in a different level, in a tier lower than the media. Maybe that's a transmedia moment. I mean, it could literally be a fanfic or a professional fic that is written, that draws people into your website to be more involved. Or maybe it is a simple contest where you ask the question, so what happened to Scotty after he got knocked unconscious?
Scotty'sDream.com.
Exactly, and that could actually diverge into a whole new slew of things. I mean, it could be just as organic as an accidental moment, or the can that got kicked. What did that have symbolism in? I mean, if you watch your film and you're looking for things that were not exactly part of the scope of your story, but could be something because of the organic nature of what happened off-scene in this moment, those off-scene moments, people really want to know what happened. Mm-hmm. And you can't put everything into a movie. I mean, every media property has this problem. And every film is going to have that unless you're filming the entire thing in one take. It's the only time I think that wouldn't occur. Then, maybe the audience can find one. Then you create that opportunity organically.
I feel that with DVD, and there are a couple DVDs that have done it. The Nightmare on Elm Street is actually their box set. That was actually a really good example. Their last disc is basically a game that takes you deeper into the world of Nightmare on Elm Street. But I always felt that DVDs and Blu-rays, especially with the expanded disc space, was always a wasted opportunity of not being able to expand upon the things that delving into this, the universes. And because DVD is such a it's such a thing. Although I think that the biggest problem I think that a lot of people might run into is, it's like they want to play like this, and unfortunately with the DVD you can only play like this.
True,
but I always felt that it was a wasted opportunity a bit.
I actually think that it's an opportunity to put a piece of a puzzle in. And people bury it. Let's see, Doctor Who did this in one episode. They buried the Easter eggs into all of the DVDs for one episode. It was Blink, one of the most famous episodes of Doctor Who. And within the episode, they played little video clips. But only if you collected all the DVDs were the characters in the episode able to hear the entire very creepy discourse that occurred between them. So you could do that now if you want to put something in your DVD that's just an Easter egg. Let's say a little pie symbol in the corner, maybe, if you know that movie, and that could take you to a website if it's a Blu-ray, or maybe pop something up that leads you to the secret puzzle. And then making a puzzle online for players to go through isn't that hard. Just search for ciphers online. Just read a little bit, and you'll start learning about Rot 13, Caesar ciphers, these basic concepts. And I guarantee things that you think you personally could never solve, the internet, they can do it.
They can do it.
They've got armies. I mean, Reddit alone has entire subreddits dedicated to just figuring this stuff out. There are whole ARG forums where pros spend their entire day just solving color-coordinated puzzles which handle RGB values. I'm like, how the hell are they doing this? I mean, our own puzzles. I can't figure this stuff out. But the experts behind the scenes, they spend all their time solving it.
Well, and plus you have, the idea of, like, once one person solves it, they put the answer out for other people. So,
But don't get me wrong. The key thing in an ARG that makes it unique, it's not just solving the puzzles. It's a level of back and forth between the puzzle masters behind the curtain and the actual activities. So they keep feeding and interacting. They're having full conversations with RU and actually talking to him about what he wants to do and how he's enlisting their help. And when people actually sign up for that, he communicates them. He will text you. He will send you messages. He might fax you. Who knows what he's going to do to enlist your aid. If you say, I'm going to be at WyrdCon and I'm going to do this and that, it's like he might respond. At the same time, you might get the attention of the society of WyrdCon, but I can't say anymore.
There's things. With stuff you can't talk about. But one thing. But if you do what?
But if you get an invite on your phone to go somewhere at midnight during the convention, go.
You should go, because otherwise, they might take your family. And then it just becomes like Taken 2.
Mm-hmm. There are events that occur at WyrdCon that are off the schedule, fully planned activities that if you solve or get involved just a little bit deeper than normal, you'd be astounded at the level of depth. I mean, Jeff Gomez, one of the perks of actually running WyrdCon, probably the driving force that leads me on, is I get to see those behind-the-scenes moments, and I remember spending half an hour huddled in the dark, sitting on the floor with Jeff Gomez as we're watching I'll just call it a ceremony that some people managed to solve and resolve some puzzles to get to, and how deep the emotional nexus was of just watching it. For the people involved, they truly had solved and invested themselves into something, and the reward was mind-blowing about what they are. And when those people return this year, they are advanced initiates into what's going on. And you'll probably run into them, and maybe they'll give you some hints onto how to become deeper into the puzzle.
And for more information, we want to make sure people can go to WyrdCon.com, WYRD.com, and WYRDCON.
Now, hold on. WYRDCON.com. It's September 12th through the 15th. It's at the Hilton Costa Mesa. You can fly in. It's right next to the Orange County Airport, code SNA. Check us out. It's going to be definitely a thriller from Thursday through Sunday. Come for a day, come for the entire 4 days. I guarantee it's a much more personal convention than the big cons. That's one thing we aim at. We want you to be able to sit down with these people and actually have a conversation with them. And so we limit things to a much smaller size. We don't have 100-person rooms on purpose. If that's going to, we actually enforce pre-registration and track the movement very closely, so you actually can go one-on-one. You want to make that language with David, then you'll actually be sitting there talking to him. He's going to be over your shoulder saying, try this, and work with you. As a matter of fact, David is doing 2 panels at the beginning and the end to take you through the journey of the conference, so you actually mull over the evolution as you go through the experiences at the conference. So everybody's doing just something a little bit different. And then in the evening, there's plenty of games to play all over the map. You want to be in Star Wars? Well, we've got a cantina for that.
Nice. Do I get to shoot first?
You could.
I want to shoot first.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Just think of it this way.
Drink some blue milk.
It's just like a regular Shakespearean play. It's a regular one, except we bring the audience on stage. What would happen if you killed Hamlet in the first act? What would the guards do to you if you did that?
It's funny because I've always viewed Han Solo as Mercutio, but that's
Exactly.
me.
That was where I was going.
But that said, let's go ahead. So follow you on Twitter. We're at WyrdCon.
Yes.
Facebook
/WyrdCon.
/WyrdCon. YouTube.
WyrdCon Storytelling. Just search for WyrdCon, you'll find us.
You'll find them. I did. We did it right before the show.
Yeah.
So that's all we have time now for our guest here, Mr. Ira Ham, but I want to say thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're going to be right back. We have a little bit more show for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and we got a little ad from our good folks here where we're at, actually, at Hot Pixel Post-Production. Right here in their color timing bay is where we do the show. So we have a little ad for them. When we come back, we'll have more show for you. Stick around, and I got to run over there now and hit the button. I'll be right back. We also had the great pleasure recently of working over at, with the good folks over at Film Festival Flicks, as we will be doing every month. And we actually did a great interview over there for their movie that they were doing called So Right, So Smart. And it's about sustainable energy and stuff like that. It was a really, it was definitely interesting because we weren't talking to filmmakers. Actually, the two interviews we did, one was with this person you're going to see next, which was a representative from a carpet cleaning company. And I'm like, carpet cleaning? I thought this was filmmaking. As you'll see, I made the joke in the interview. And the other ones were the distributors of the film, or the original distributors of the film. And it was interesting to talk to them about how they got involved and why the topic of this movie was important to them. We're going to go ahead, we're going to play a clip from our interview over here with our representative from the carpet cleaning company. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up and get the heck on out of here. So stick around, we'll be right back. This is Nic Baisley from FilmSnobbery.com. I'm here at Regal LA Live here at Film Festival Flicks once again. And who am I here with tonight?
My name's Christina Wirtz. I'm with Interface Carpet.
What is Interface Carpet? I thought we were at a film event. What are you doing here?
Well, I was asked to come down. Our showroom is just down the street. And Ray Anderson, the founder of our company, Interface, he is in the movie. So
he's in the movie. Now, from what I understand, a lot of what this movie's about has to do with a lot of green initiatives and sustainability. And your company is one of the ones that are kind of on the forefront of that. What do you guys do that is, to make the move towards sustainable, a sustainable planet? Let's be honest. But why? Why would you do that?
Well, what's really cool is, so it's a carpet company. Mm-hmm. And, we used to follow the old model that everybody did, and it was kind of like you take from the earth, you make it, and then you have waste, and then it goes in the landfill, and it sits for 50 years plus. And Ray Anderson, the founder, had an epiphany, all of a sudden said, wait a minute, what am I doing? And he read the book by Paul Hawken and read a chapter called The Death of Birth, and it was like a spear in the chest for him, and he set out to change the entire company. And he thought that if he could do it, and a carpet company, which is a really bad polluter, if he could do it, anybody could do it.
And what are some of the ways that you guys are actually, how did you change your business to kind of follow that model?
Well, he gave a speech, and a lot of people thought he was crazy and went crazy. And then slowly but surely, he stayed true to that mission, and he said, this isn't going away, we are going to do this. And then we started to make a profit from it, and all of a sudden it was really good for our marketing. And then all of a sudden we saw the waste that wasn't going out into the landfill, that was actually coming back to our manufacturing process, and that we could remake that right back into carpet tile again. So it was a full closed loop process. And then the benefits were huge, and the light bulbs went off, and now every day there's a new explosion of ideas on, how can we be better? How can we mimic nature and not take from the earth, but add to the earth and be more restorative?
Do you think that you have to be a little crazy to be innovative?
Yeah, I do. After I've watched Ray Anderson and in action, and I've been with the company 11 years, so I really got to see the history of this unfold. And but you can be normal, you can be crazy, but if this just makes sense. It just makes sense. It's just right. It's the right thing to do. Did his
initiatives within the company start to affect anybody outside the company in regards to, people like, oh yeah, maybe I should recycle, or maybe, we should, did you see other businesses that he also worked with also go like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe this is a better way of doing business?
Yeah, actually, we have a number of businesses that now come to our facility in Georgia or around the world, and they come in just to talk about what could we do. I mean, we've even had Walmart come in and big companies, and we are happy to share how we did it, what we're doing, and then we get ideas then from the people that come in. And then every day, of course, I'm showing this product to architects, designers, companies, and all of a sudden the light bulbs start going off locally for people. Wait, what could we do better? What could we do? And then it just makes sense.
All right, everyone, we're back, and that brings us to the tail end of the show. I want to remind everyone we have some dates we'll confirm for you guys about our live show at the Hive Gallery at the end of the month. We also have the big redesign and relaunch of FilmSnobbery.com. Make sure you can check us every Thursday at 7 p.m. PST over at FilmSnobberyLive.com for more great guests and other interviews. We also have... we've got so many other things coming up soon. We have some more videos that we're going to be posting soon from Film Festival Flicks. We'll be there I believe it's the first Wednesday of every month. And we also have some other great announcements that are going to be coming up in the future. We want to make sure that you guys stay tuned for those as well. So make sure that you guys follow us over at twitter.com/filmsnobbery. Let's see. Let's bring that on up over here because I got no help. Here we go. Boom. At FilmSnobbery. How about that? No, and then Facebook.com/FilmSnobbery, YouTube.com/FilmSnobbery. Pretty much anything on the net. .com/FilmSnobbery, you'll probably find us. So, check us out next week. We look forward to having another guest sitting on our couch and talking to them. Maybe we'll talk more about storytelling. Maybe we'll talk about finance. Maybe we'll talk about producing. Who knows? Stay tuned, though. We'll be announcing our guests as soon as we have knowledge of the confirmation of them, and we'll see you then. Until then, make sure you remember you can ask questions in our chat room on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll ask them to our guests. So see you guys next week, same time, 7 p.m., and we'll see you then. Bye.